The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program, America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Come expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those who undertake. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you might be. I am Rick Robinson. This is America Off the Rails, and I'm glad to say that I'm back with you after a couple of days of a break. Sadly, I've been under the weather for the last couple of days, so we had some replays going on. Also, to be quite frankly honest, on Monday, my middle son, who's a senior, had a school function that I didn't want to miss, so you got to hear Politibunny in my time slot, and then we did a replay of one of my favorite episodes so far for 2015, my interview with Backpack and Yoda of Voices of Global Freedom Radio, where they were kind enough to come on the show and hang out. We are looking to start adding more guests, and we are working on that as we speak, so at some point there actually will hopefully be more than just me talking all the time. I know some of you are fine with that. Some of you, every time I have a guest on, are like, oh my God, thank God he's not talking for 5 minutes. But I do have a lot to talk about, lots of things to go over, because sadly I haven't been with you for the last couple of days. So there have been lots of things going on in the news, lots of things that are a little scary, and also lots of things that are still kind of a little bit of a recap. One of the things I want to talk about first, and then I'll get into the 2 main points I want to make for the hour. First one is I guess I have a couple of points. For those of you who have been paying attention to the news, there was a funeral service today for a convenience store clerk who was age 21, who was actually murdered during a holdup. He was murdered by someone who was facing deportation and is an illegal alien. So hats off and congratulations to the Obama administration for your open door policy to the southern border. I wonder if we really ever actually started tracking how many people were killed by people that weren't actually supposed to be in this country at all, if somebody would finally become worried about whether or not we should seal up the southern border. Just my thought for the day, because, we've had even Republicans that have run on the whole idea of, elect me and I'll make sure that we put up a fence. John McCain actually has won a couple of elections using that rhetoric, and then, of course, as soon as he gets in office, starts talking about how, we can't really do that. So, yeah, thanks, John. Thanks so much for absolutely nothing. You geriatric bastard. Go back to Arizona where you belong and pull up a rocking chair. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that out loud? Sometimes I have this thing, it's supposed to be this filter between my brain and my mouth. I've been told by folks I've been born without one, and I think this may have been one of those times. But, one of the things I definitely wanted to talk about was that. So, congratulations for all you guys that are on the fence. All of you newly elected, I almost said erected, Republicans who are now suddenly deciding that you want to go along with Obama's executive amnesty. That's not what the hell we sent you there for. So wake up. Plain and simple. We didn't send you to Washington to continue this idiot's montage and tirade of America's worst and most embarrassing follies, because that's what this last 6 years has been. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to focus on it, but that is the absolute truth. We are the laughing stock of the world, and it is in part thanks to this man who thought he was going to, and I quote, bring on the age of the American dream and be able to prove to the world that we're not the monsters that we appear to be. I hate to tell you this, Mr. President, but sometimes the world needs monsters, and for the record, we aren't the monsters. But I'll get to that here in just a little bit, because one of the things I've been dying to talk to you guys about, and I got really mad because I got so sick right afterwards, I finally got the chance to go see a movie. You know how often I actually pay for tickets to go see a movie? I mean, I'm all about like Netflix, Redbox. I mean, let's be honest, who the heck can afford to pay full price for movie tickets anymore? But one I definitely decided I wanted to do that for, just to show support for it. And no, it was not the recent Seth Rogen movie. As far as I'm concerned, Seth Rogen can take a nice long walk off a nice short pier and forget how to swim, and I'd be just fine with that, because I don't know about you guys, I've seen a few of his movies. I've tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, because occasionally people that I don't much care for at first, if I give them a few minutes, they grow on me. I've tried several movies. This will not be one of the ones that I've tried. Anyway, switching gears to one of the main topics I did want to talk about is actually the movie that I did go see this weekend, which is American Sniper. I have to say, one thing I'd like to talk about, which happened after the movie, and then we'll get into the meat of my thoughts on the movie, and then I have a clip I'd like to play that talk about some other folks who were more highly paid than I am in their opinions. But the most disturbing point for the movie for me was actually after it was over. After it was over, of course, as always, you know, I'm an older gentleman at this point. I'm in my 40s. Some of you are going, "Oh my God, you're still a puppy," and others of you in your 20s are like, "Oh my God, will this old guy ever shut up?" Anyway, so goes the story of my life. So anyway, after the movie was over, I decided I was going to make a pit stop before the drive home, because we went to a movie theater that was a little ways away from the house, because I found a really good deal on tickets. So we went there, but after the movie was over, I'm in the bathroom, and of course, you know, one of the things I never really have understood is this whole women going to the bathroom and heard things and having conversations. Well, apparently it's starting to spread to the male gender, because there were gentlemen in there that were around my age, one of them a little bit older, that were talking back and forth about the movie, and they were in the same theater I was, so I knew which movie they were referring to, even though they didn't mention it by name. And they were like, "Oh my God, that was so sad. I didn't know it was going to end that way. I didn't know he died." Hello, McFly. Do you not watch the news at all? Ever? It's like, how do you not know that Chris Kyle died? I mean, first of all, it was sad enough that he died. It was even sadder for me to be standing, and this is the mental picture. This is one of those bathrooms that has 3 urinals. This is why I was so uncomfortable. There's a guy in urinal 1. There's a guy in urinal 3. I'm the guy in urinal 2. They are talking around me about the movie that I just saw. And one of them makes one of the craziest statements I had ever heard, which is, that was so sad. I didn't know he was going to die. And I lost hope for humanity just a little bit in that moment. Because, first of all, if you're going to see the movie, I kind of thought you might have done a little bit of research about the movie first. Just saying. Now, on to what I wanted to talk about to go along with the movie, and then we'll get to the other stuff that I wanted to talk about today. There we go. It's like, it's loaded in here. Don't give me that look.
Now, did you see American Sniper, Miller?
Yeah, sure I did.
You saw it. Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, I have the screeners because I'm in a few of the guilds, and Chris Kyle's an American hero. God, may he rest in peace. Thank God for men like him.
So I saw it too, and therefore my reaction to people like Seth Rogen and Michael Moore. And by the way, I want to give Mr. Rogen a chance to clarify, so he has an opening to come on here. Moore, we know, is a kook. I get a little upset about that. I thought the movie was a pretty fair deal. I think it showed honor and it showed courage, and I don't want it attacked.
I wouldn't even qualify it that it was a pretty fair deal. We have the right to be as big of idiots as we want in this country, and a lot of people prove it on a weekly basis. The only guy who affords that is a guy like Kyle on a roof in some crap town, keeping good people alive and killing bad people. He's heaven sent. They're heroes for the ages, iconic figures. Thank God for men like Chris Kyle. And you know what? He leaves such a big wake that do you even hear people like, I'm surprised that Michael Moore and Seth Rogen do not break out into flames, spontaneously human combust when they talk about a guy like him. Well, they will now. It's just a different species.
They will now that Whoopi Goldberg and what's her name on The View actually went after them today. I mean, that was pretty stunning.
Oh, they were Whoopi and Rosie were for the film?
Well, Whoopi Goldberg was.
Wow.
And then Rosie was going... seemed to be agreeing. She was pretty far off camera, and they have a tendency to do that now in The View. But she seemed to be sewing right on. So once it reaches that level where, you know, obviously women with left-wing sensibilities are saying, you know, it's not fair. And you know what was really terrible about it? And for the people who will go to see the movie, I'm not spoiling anything for you, is that Eastwood, the director and the writer, they didn't glorify violence. They showed how much Kyle suffered and his wife and children suffered from this Iraq war. They didn't shy away from that. This isn't like John Wayne in the Green Berets in 1968 going into Vietnam and winning the war by himself. That's not what this movie is. So therefore, I was pretty annoyed, not only at the dopey actors, but the New York Times reviewer and then the other crazy magazine people. Go ahead, last word.
Listen, in the world, there are people who take a power drill to a kid. And thank God there are people like Chris Kyle up on a roof who blow the guy with a power drill's head off. And anybody else wants to look for subtext in that or try to figure out the B story, they've got their heads so far up their arse they're going to have to cut in switchback trails to get to it. Rest in peace, Chris Kyle. Thank you for affording me the life I have as a free American.
There you go, Dennis Miller, everybody.
All right, and I would actually like to second almost everything that those two gentlemen said, because here's the biggest thing, and this is the thing, and I'm not going to give anything away for the movie because I know there are still some people who haven't seen it, but one of the biggest things that nobody's talking about, and I know these people have the ability to be able to find this, when you're looking at the credits, there are so many different places where they actually talk about what are basically, and suddenly the word escapes me, consultants. That's the word I'm looking for. Consultants. But if you look in that movie, there are all of these consultants for all of these different areas, and there are so many consultants with Middle Eastern names. And I say this because one of the biggest things that I keep seeing going all over social media is how this movie puts Muslims in a bad light. This movie makes America look war hungry. First of all, if you're saying that, you obviously haven't seen anything more than the trailers. Because one of the biggest things that Chris Kyle points out over and over again is the only reason he keeps going back there is because he's worried about the people that he left behind. It actually depicts the suffering that he and other soldiers go through when they realize that they have a duty greater than themselves and they're home and there's this war going on that nobody's talking about anymore other than a few blurbs here and there on the news. And nobody's talking about it anymore, and it's not front and center anymore, but it's always front and center for these guys. Because, to quote him, and this isn't a direct quote, but it's a paraphrase, I have lived the American dream. I have lived the ideal of putting oneself in the line of fire for others. And at this point, I'm completely blowing the quote, so you can feel free to look it up later. But the whole point of this, and the whole point he tries to make over and over again, because there are so many times during the movie that he and his spouse fight. And he keeps saying over and over again, honey, I can't be here doing normal day-to-day things when I know that the people that I left behind are still in harm's way. That is an American hero. That is somebody who understands what it means to be an American. And not only that, in my opinion, what it means to be a human being. Because you realize that there is bad in this world, and you understand that, and you do your damnedest to stand up against it. That is a hero. That is a true human being. You can try to make all of these other guys that keep talking about, well, we just need to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and tell the world everything's going to be okay, buy them a Coke and tell them to smile. That's not going to work with these people. That's why a lot of these people that haven't seen the movie, that have only heard about it, are so upset. Because it shows some of the things that these soldiers went through on a daily basis that nobody's talking about. The soldiers that are coming home with parts of their bodies missing. The soldiers that are coming home with disfigured faces. The soldiers that look just fine on the outside, but they're still there on the inside. One of the biggest scenes, and again, this really isn't giving too much away, one of the biggest scenes for me wasn't any of the action scenes or anything else. It's one of the times when Chris Kyle was home, and I think it was after his last tour, but before he decided to get counseling. They showed a scene, and at first you see him sitting in the chair, and you hear all these loud noises, and the first thing you're thinking is, well, he's just watching a war movie. But as they pan around, they show you the angle of him, and he's still sitting there, staring in his chair, but he's staring at a turned-off television. What he's reliving, and what you're hearing as someone who's seeing it from the outside, is what's playing through his head at that very moment, which is it's another one of the fight scenes. It's another one of the loud explosions, the gunfire, and everything else. And the biggest point that I want to make about this before I move on to anything else is, for those of you who are throwing a fit about this movie, I would highly suggest that you go see it. Because this isn't one of those glorifying war movies. This shows you a lot of what these people have had to go through, that have put on a uniform and put themselves in harm's way to make sure that we have the right to sit back and call them idiots and call them baby killers and half the other things that people have done since the Vietnam War. The simple fact of the matter is, whether you think war is a good idea or a bad idea, our boys and girls are there. It doesn't matter if it was a bad idea anymore, because they're there. So for all of you idiots that want to sit back and talk smack about our soldiers who have been placed in harm's way through no fault of their own, all of you need to sit down and shut the hell up. They didn't ask to go there. They asked to serve their country, but they didn't ask to go there. They were ordered to go there. So for all of you that are doing stupid things, like comparing this movie to the movie in the third act of Inglourious Bastards, when the Nazi propaganda movie was playing, obviously Michael Moore, that was Seth Rogen, not Michael Moore. You obviously hadn't seen the movie yet, sir. Now here's the thing that pisses me off. We all stood up and stood in line and stood shoulder to shoulder when somebody told you that you couldn't make your movie. And right after we did that, you pull this crap. You will never see another dime of my money again. I don't care if it's through a Netflix subscription or through Redbox. I will never, ever watch one of your movies again. Period. Because when the entire country stood up for you, you couldn't say one nice thing about someone who died trying to help other people. No, he still wasn't in the field of battle on the day that he died, but he still was battling for soldiers. At that point, through the help of a counselor, what he had found is that there are so many people that still needed his help now that they were stateside, and he could continue to do what he had always done, which is watch over other people. So that is exactly what he tried to do up until the day that he died. Michael Moore, that man has done more in one single day than you have done in your entire life. Seth Rogen, the same goes for you. So as far as I'm concerned, both of you should delete your Twitter accounts. Both of you should take whatever money you've made from the American people. You should go buy a small island, live together, and make atrocious babies because you're perfect for each other. That's all I have to say to you two. Okay, we did get a little bit of a late start, so I'm going to go ahead and run this just a little bit longer before we go ahead and start taking the commercial breaks. I want to go ahead and change gears a little bit, start talking about some Super Bowl stuff, and then I have a couple of funny things I wanted to play to go along with that, along with one last serious story, because, we're still going to be talking about Deflategate here at Off the Rails up until probably the day before the Super Bowl, because I'm sorry, there's way too much funny crap coming out about it. Let's take a little serious tack on it, and then I will play some of the funnier stuff. So give me just a moment to get that queued up.
The NFL is investigating claims to see whether or not the New England Patriots purposely deflated some of the game balls they used in the AFC Championship game against the Indianapolis Colts. Whether or not they purposely deflated these balls may have helped Tom Brady get a better grip on the ball when he was throwing it in the rain. Each team has to provide the NFL referees with 12 game balls 2 hours and 15 minutes before game time for the referees to inspect to make sure they meet certain specifications. If the Patriots then took those balls and deflated them, they could face potential fines. The Patriots are infamous for Spygate, in which Bill Belichick, their coach, was fined $500,000 for videotaping the New York Jets. And the team was also fined $250,000, and they had to forfeit their first-round pick back in 2008. This Deflategate gives more ammunition for people out there who want to call the New England Patriots cheaters. The NFL is still investigating the claims into whether or not the Patriots purposely deflated the balls. Patriots coach Bill Belichick has said that he will cooperate fully with the investigation. Quarterback Tom Brady has called the accusations ridiculous. This is unlikely to be anything along the lines of Spygate, where they were forced to give up a first-round pick.
All right, so, yeah, basically it's, everybody's making like this isn't a big deal and we shouldn't be worried about it. And I even heard some folks talk about how we shouldn't even be talking about it anymore because it's a few days from the Super Bowl and they'd rather talk about all the fun stuff. Well, first thing I'd like to say is I, for one, will be rooting for the Seattle Seahawks. 1, because I used to live there. 2, because I never really have much cared for the Patriots, and 3, because of the fact that they keep cheating and it keeps being proven over and over again. As far as I'm concerned, they should be disbanded as a team. Sorry for anybody who's listening in Boston right now, because I know we have some East Coast listeners, but yeah, sorry, you're not going to get any sympathy from me because you have a bunch of cheaters. Okay, that being said, one of the things that's come out that I thought was interesting is on the ride into work today, I heard someone drop a statistic. Apparently, the Patriots, during home games, have the lowest percentage of fumbled balls ever. I wonder how long they've been deflating these balls. I mean, do we need to, go back through and look at all their stats and start putting asterisks by them like they do when, there's cheaters in baseball? Just asking, because, yeah. I mean, look at it this way. They gambled, they got caught, they're probably going to get a slap on the wrist. The worst thing that's going to happen is they're probably going to hit them for $250,000 fines. That'd be about like you and me getting a seatbelt ticket. I don't even know if it'll go so far as them losing any draft picks like they did for the Spygate thing. But the good news with that is, and I'll play one of these, or actually I might as well play both of them, then we'll take the commercial break and I'll just do a shorter last segment. But the good news is there's some really funny stuff coming out about all this. Some of it's actually from some folks that you may know because a couple of their shows are played here on K98 Talk. We have a group called Polititainment that actually their regular home is 405 Radio, but 2 of the shows are syndicated over here, one of which you'll be hearing in just a few minutes as soon as I get situated, because one of the reasons we got a later start than usual is because I was still trying to get all the behind-the-scenes stuff done, and I'm still going to be working on that. So it'll be a little bit after 7 before that one actually gets started, but it will be in there. But yeah, let's play some fun stuff, and then I'll take the commercial break, and then we'll just wind down the rest of the show.
You're on your way to the Super Bowl, but does your game still feel a bit flat? Cialis Inflatable helps fill your balls anytime the moment is right. Reach under center with confidence, knowing those balls are full and ready to grab. Before starting Cialis Inflatable, make sure your quarterback actually has balls to inflate. Do not play with deflated balls. Side effects may include inflated ego, swelling or painful sacks, loss of draft picks or hoodie sleeves, and hefty fines. Why let deflated balls hold you back? Give your balls that extra pump for the big game. Ask your equipment manager about Cialis Inflatable. And stop f***ing cheating.
The difference.
Alright, so yeah, I'm pretty much on that one. All I really have to say is I have to thank my wife for that one. She's the one that showed it to me. If you're interested in finding the full video, you can find it on YouTube simply by searching, how is it worded again? New England Patriots Cialis commercial. And actually on this one, I do believe we gave full credit to the website that actually put it together in the links on the show. So feel free to look them up as well. Let them know that, first of all, what they put together was rather flipping hilarious. And, I mean, the whole innuendo all the way through that was just crazy to me. You know, make sure your quarterback actually has balls before you try to deflate them. But I guess one of the other things that's kind of come out that was surprising to me over this whole thing is apparently the owner of the Patriots has come out demanding an apology. Dude, were you smoking crack when you decided that was a good idea? I mean, they've already basically been able to verify there's no way that this could have been a weather-related issue because the weather wasn't cold enough that day. Then you have the fact that now people are starting to go back through and look at your stats and they're like, interestingly enough, this team has almost 0 fumbles at any home games. And now you're coming out as the owner saying, I demand an apology. Well, I demand you stop cheating. How's that? Neither one of us are going to get what we want, but hey, it makes me feel better. I mean, come on, dude. Seriously. You're going to come out and be like, I demand an apology because, I mean, I hadn't actually heard it yet. I was looking to see if I could find a sound clip for it, but I haven't been able to yet. I can just imagine some little old stuffy shirt guy. These allegations are egregious and I demand an immediate apology. How about no? I mean, come on, dude. You guys got caught. Deal with it. It's not the first time. One of the folks that used to be on your staff went over to the Broncos and they got in trouble for the same crap that you got in trouble for the first time. And people want to talk about how there's not a culture of cheating among the NFL players and coaches. Okay. If you say so. I personally disagree. Okay, so before we come back and keep talking about this a little bit more, actually, you know what? Let's take the break now, and then I'll say, because I don't want to play this and then go straight to a break. So let me go ahead and get the break stuff queued up now, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll be right back. And then I have one other funny thing that I want to play about this, and then we'll keep talking about it because you know it's good times. It's good times. All right, folks, we'll be right back here in just a couple minutes.
Tune into The Family Factor with Denny C. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 5 a.m. as he looks at all the challenges facing the family today. Denny will give you a refreshingly new look at tackling some of the biggest issues. So start your day off on the right foot with Denny C. and The Family Factor, right here on K98Talk.com. K98Talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
We're gonna spread happiness. We're gonna spread freedom. Obama's gonna change it. Obama's gonna lead 'em.
So let me be clear. You didn't build that.
Everything he's done is clean as a whistle. He's never not only broken any law, he's never done anything wrong. He's the perfect father, the perfect husband, the perfect American.
Hey, y'all. This is Sam Janney, or the Bunny, as many of you know me by. Your friendly neighborhood bad girl of conservatism. Here to talk to you about my show. I'll talk about conservative issues, my top 10 douchebags of the week, and have some pretty badass conservative guests on the show. All that, plus me, your resident bunny with a chainsaw.
It's Unapologetically Bunny. Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Coming.
Just freedom, bless you, pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause there's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect for fair play.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is America Off the Rails. I am your host, Rowdy Rick Robinson, coming to you for probably about another 20 minutes or so. We did get a little bit of a late start, but I don't want to push things back too far. Now, since I didn't do this at the beginning of the show, just in case you're wondering about all the different ways you can find us here on America Off the Rails, we have an app on the Android market. Simply put, America Off the Rails in quotation marks. You can download it, take us anywhere you want to go. We are available anytime the feed is live through TuneIn Radio. You can find that link on www.k98talk.com. The show is also available on iHeartRadio. It is available through SoundCloud. It is available through Spreaker, and we have recently been added to Stitcher. So at this point, if you're not finding us, it's mainly because you're not looking. But we do have plenty of different ways for you to find us, and I would like to thank everybody who tunes in on a regular basis, because I do notice the numbers are continuing to grow more and more. One of the things that actually made me really happy is even over the last couple of days, when we did do a replay, I didn't do it on my normal feed because I didn't want it going out to all the different places that already had the episode. And we had a pretty big following on that one, even though it wasn't on my normal RSS feed. Also, a lot of my other shows have been getting quite a few plays because I've noticed that the numbers are continuing to bump up and up and up on the nights that I don't, for whatever reason, even manage to do a live show. So thanks to everybody who's tuning in. Also, big shout out to TopTalkRadio.com. Of course, they have yours truly featured as one of the top 100 conservative talk show hosts in the country. It's a really cool website. You should check it out sometime. One of the biggest things I like about that website is if you're like me, you never really have time to catch all the folks that you like. They actually have a DVR feature on the website. I don't know if it works for everybody because I know some of them like to charge for that, but it does actually have a thing where you can set a reminder or even record some of the shows. I haven't, to be honest, played with it much, but I do plan on starting that in the future because now that I'm on air all the time, there's lots of folks that I used to like to listen to that I don't get much of a chance to anymore. Case in point being Jerry Doyle, because as of right now, at least in my market, we are on, well, I say market, but in my area, we are on during the same time slot, so I don't really get much of a chance to listen to him anymore. So I do plan on seeing if that is one of the ones that has the record and listen later feature. Now, before we went to break, I did promise that I had something else funny that I wanted to play about the whole Deflategate scenario. And, of course, this one is actually put together by a bunch of friends of mine, the Politainment crew. Again, their home every Thursday night is 405 Radio. However, we do air, according to me, with Jason DeWilkins, every Wednesday night as soon as this show ends. And then we have... after negotiations, elected to start carrying Bunny's recorded show on Fridays because for some reason they were hesitant about letting us do live broadcast, which is interesting because a lot of folks, when I pitched them that idea, they were, one, amazed that we could do it, and two, pretty elated by the idea because it was putting them out over multiple markets at the same time. But hey, you know, I'm not going to argue with the management of another station or another network, so... whatever. But anyway, so this one is actually, again, put together by the folks over at the Politainment crew. You can catch two of their shows right here on K98Talk.com. One of them Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. The other one Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. And, of course, the other one Fridays at 7 o'clock Central. So...
Here's a story of an AFC team that once again was in the Super Bowl. They have a weirdo coach who always mumbles and dresses like a 12-year-old. Here's a story of a man named Brady who would only play with footballs of his own. There were 12 balls in a bag together, their whereabouts unknown. day Brady threw an interception, and the Colts coaching staff was appalled. The Patriots are now a top news story, and we want to know about Tom Brady's balls. Tom Brady's balls. Tom Brady's balls. Deflategate is all about Tom Brady's balls.
All right, so if you haven't tuned in to Jason DeWilkins' According to Me show yet, you're actually missing an awesome show. He's got some really good parody stuff that he puts together. I don't know if anybody else helps him write this stuff or not. I haven't actually asked him yet. But I have to admit, if it's all coming from him, he's a pretty creative guy. So if you're not checking out that show, first of all, we would prefer that you may check it out here, because if you're listening to him when he's live on Thursday, then you're not listening to Grouchy. But, we have gotten to the point now where shows are other stations that are internet-based have actually started trying to compete with one another, so I get that. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where we're trying to fit in as much programming as we can here at Talk, so eventually we will have shows playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Speaking of which, we are in negotiations to pick up 3 new shows. I'll let you know how that stuff goes as it continues. But one of them is already pretty adamant that we play the show. I just haven't had a chance to go in and check it out yet. So, Ruthie, if you're listening from the Ruthie Report, I do plan on checking you out this week. I promise I will get back to you. And again, you were recommended by 2 of the top guys that I know of in the business, so I don't really see it as more of as anything more than a formality that I want to listen to the show first. So hopefully we'll be announcing something here pretty quickly. Now, I guess I'll go ahead and finish talking about this Deflategate thing, because again, the whole thing, because they're going to be, they should be under a microscope for a while. I don't know if they're going to be, but they should be. Especially people should start looking at some of the stats that can be affected by the fact that they may or may not be underinflating their footballs. Because how many times have they gotten where they've gotten by playing creatively instead of following the rules? But the whole simple fact of the matter is nobody wants to talk about it, nobody wants to acknowledge it, but there's gotten to be this whole point where now in basically any sport, you bend the rules just about as far as you can bend them without breaking them. I mean, how many players do we know that are taking things like Vicodin before they go on the field or go on the court because they have so many body pain issues that they want to be able to play through the pain and make the winning goal or score the winning touchdown or make the winning field goal block? And I'm not down on anybody because I've been there. There have been times when I had a badge and a uniform and a bulletproof vest and a gun on that I was taking over the counter, of course, because it wasn't anything prescription, but massive amounts of over the counter pain medication because otherwise I couldn't function. I mean, there was like a week before I could get into the dentist one time. Even when I was working private security, I was dealing with a bar fight and one of my back wisdom teeth got broken. That was some of the worst pain I'd been in my life. But I was the owner of the company and there were things that I had to do. So, I was taking tons and tons of pretty much anything I could find that was legal as far as painkillers, and I was chewing on them. Anybody who ever, tries that, I wouldn't recommend it. It was one of those things of, I don't know. I saw it in a movie once, and I was like, hey, that seemed like it worked pretty quickly, which, to be quite honest, it actually does work more quickly because you can crunch it up and then hold it under your tongue, and it goes into your bloodstream. But that's only if you can keep from hurling first, because that was terrible. So, yeah, for all of you big tough guys out there that chew on your pain medication on a regular basis, hats off to you, because I did that for a few days just because the pain was so bad. It seemed like it was the only thing I could do to make it stop, and it was one of the worst things I felt like I'd ever done in my life, short of drinking castor oil, which, believe it or not, actually was forced on me once as a very young child by one of my grandparents. Worst experience ever. Okay, but, overall, back to this whole Deflategate thing. Again, my pick for the Super Bowl, crossing fingers. Please, for the love of God, let the Seahawks win, because I cannot stand the Patriots. How many Super Bowl rings do you need? And how often do you have to cheat just to try to get them? Just being honest. Now, of course, I do plan on watching the Super Bowl this weekend. For those of you who know me, I'm not really that big into sports. But I do try to pay more attention to football once it's like playoff time and championship game time. But, the rest of the time I'm all like, it's a game we all used to play in our backyards, and I don't make millions of dollars to play it. Maybe that makes me bitter. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just bitter. I mean, should I fault these guys for making millions of dollars to play a game that we all played in our backyards? I guess I really shouldn't fault them. Maybe I should fault more of our culture, because it seems to me there's so many better pay or better jobs that would deserve that type of pay. Teachers for one. If not for teachers and coaches, these people wouldn't be on the field. Just my thought for the day. All right, so we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. Just want to go ahead and go over a couple other things with you just to make sure we've covered everything. Again, we are in negotiations for 3 more shows. I'll let you know how that goes. Also, there's been some confusion, so just to clarify this on the air, we've had some other markets that have been looking into picking up our shows. These shows are aired on K98Talk.com because I happen to be business partners with the main owner, and I am the programming director, and we do work together. However, these shows are expressly the property, especially shows like America Off the Rails, Wake Up America, Finding Common Ground, The Family Factor, and even God's Pure Word of Faith, hosted by Richard Harden, and the newest one, Opinion Nation. Those are all programs owned solely by the Spark Radio Network. So please, if any of you are listening from other markets and you're considering whether or not we would be interested in having the shows run there, feel free to contact us before you jump to any conclusions. I say this because, unbeknownst to me, one of our marketing and sales director had actually been speaking to a station out of Dallas, and basically he finally got an email back from them the other day, and they had decided to go with someone else, mainly because they were afraid that our shows were actually owned by the station that we run on, and that is not the case. So if there are any other markets out there that have been listening or you'd like to reach out to us, feel free to email me here and I'll forward it along where it needs to go. You can reach me at ricky@thesparkradionetwork.com, and we'll pass the information along. All right, I know this was a little bit shorter show than usual, but at this point I do have some work to go get done to make sure that Jason's show goes off without a hitch. So we're going to shut things down here in just a couple minutes, and then we're going to get the show ready to go to be able to switch over at 7 o'clock to go right straight into According to Me with Jason DeWilkins. I don't honestly know if there's going to be a Liberty Unfiltered show tonight. I had hoped to have him come on the air and make the announcement. I know he did it over on Vigilant Liberty Radio, but our very own Steve Long, who originally started on both the Spark Radio Network and K98Talk.com, has decided to run for mayor for his hometown. So I think at this point he has suspended his show. If he is doing one tonight, I'll make sure that we broadcast it. But if he is doing one, this may be his last one, or he may have already done his last one. I'm not entirely sure. But one way or another, we'll make sure if there is one tonight that we bring it out to you guys so that those of you who like to catch it here can catch it. And I will be back with you tomorrow, hopefully closer to the regularly scheduled time, in between the fact that I've been fighting off this crud for the past couple of days, and then I came home and kind of felt like I was running behind the 8 ball. We're going to go ahead and shut this one down just a little bit earlier than usual, and I'll be back with you tomorrow night. Again, this is America Off the Rails. I am your host, the Rowdy One, a.k.a. Ricky Robinson, and I will be back with you tomorrow. And don't forget, Saturday, we do have the usual lineup, Finding Common Ground, rolling into Opinion Nation, and then finishing off with yours truly. The biggest change up is, at least for the next few weeks, Dave will be kind of taking a back seat. He'll still be with us when he can for about a half an hour here and there on Finding Common Ground, but the host of Opinion Nation, Bryce Robbins, will be taking the left chair for at least the next few weeks. So I think that will be kind of entertaining because we'll go back and forth together. then we'll roll into his show, then we'll roll into my show. So I think that will kind of bring a unique perspective for the weekend lineup, and I'm curious to see how that plays out. So once we start doing that, if you have any feedback, any questions, any suggestions, of course, as always, you can find me on Twitter at @double_R_OKC. You can find me on Facebook at Rowdy Ricky Robinson. That's easy enough to find. You just www.facebook.com/Rowdy Ricky Robinson. You can also, if you're already on your Facebook profile, of course, just search me, pull it up, send me a friend's request. We'll chat, we'll hang out. It's good times, good times. Of course, you send me a game request and we may have problems. Just saying. Other than that, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to email me at ricky@thesparkradionetwork.com. As always, we do what we do because of you, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you for each and every one of you that do tune in every day. Make sure you tell your friend. And, of course, if you like the show, tell a friend. If you have friends that like the show, to steal a line from Grouchy, you might want to find better friends. Don't forget, he will be with us live tomorrow night, right after my show airs. We will have the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show, fastest growing news show on K98Talk.com, putting together some stellar numbers. One of the things I'll be working on soon is his application to both Stitcher and iHeartRadio so we can get him disseminated worldwide post-haste. So thanks to everybody who's tuning in and making that one a success as well. Again, I'm done talking for the night, folks. You have a great, wonderful rest of your night. And again, thanks to everybody who tunes in to make K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network the great success that it is becoming, because we are getting a lot of the accolades, but it's thanks to every single one of you that do tune in on a regular basis. You guys take care.
Calls, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause there's no other free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect, or fair play. The IRS will target those who vote the wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to the place.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level, or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.